G'day there, I'm really excited today to bring you a follow-up interview with my friend Amanda, who has just launched her Etsy shop, her business on Etsy, and I interviewed her a few months ago when she was preparing to launch her shop. You can find that video here on my channel, and she talked about, all the things she was going through and the work she was putting in. Today, we get to see what happened after. Now, spoiler, she did really well, like super well on her first launch, and I've interviewed her just after her second product launch as well. So she's got 2 launches under her belt here in today's video, and she talks about how she managed to launch to such success, and not only the first time, but the second time as well, and the things she's learned along the way, how she plans to continue to do things into the future. And it's just a really fun interview where she shares a lot of insight from someone at the beginning of their handmade business journey. It's been a long time since I was at the beginning of mine, so I really wanted to bring someone on who was going through that process and let her speak for herself and share her experiences. So again, I hope you enjoy this one. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you'd like more videos on handmade business, how to have a successful and profitable handmade business. And if you'd like to hear from Amanda again in the future, let me know in the comments below, and I might be able to convince her to come back again to bless us with her presence and her knowledge about her experiences. Also, if you are a one-of-a-kind seller, someone who makes one-of-a-kind items, this is particularly relevant to you because that is what she is at this point in time. So the techniques, the marketing techniques and strategies she used are particularly relevant to one-of-a-kind sellers. So if you've been looking for content about that, this is definitely going to help you. Now, that's not to say that if you are someone who sells reproducible items, you won't get anything out of this. You will absolutely. There's heaps of information here and heaps of experience here that she's going to share that will help you. But I just wanted to make that point because there is sort of a dearth of information out there for people who do sell one-of-a-kind handmade goods. So this is definitely going to be a great interview for you. So I hope you enjoy it. If you have seen our previous one, then this is much better quality. I figured it out. Figured out how to do it properly. So if you haven't already watched that one, you might want to watch it first to get sort of the backstory. So I'll put a card up and I'll put a link in the description if you can go watch that one, and then come back here and you'll kind of get the next step of the journey. So let's get to it. Hello, and welcome back. I'm here again with my friend Amanda for another episode of whatever this series is that we haven't named. Welcome.
I love that. It's very catchy. Whatever it is, it is. It is.
How is Amanda's business going series, basically, is what it is.
I'm happy to be your guinea pig. I know my talents, and that is to be small and slightly frightened and running around.
You're doing a very good job of it. So I interviewed Amanda probably about 2-3 months ago now, a few weeks before she launched her business, which is called Dreamforged Dice. And so I wanted to bring her back because that was a really interesting interview, because we chatted before she launched about, the fears around that and how she was feeling about it. So basically now we have the post-launch, business is running, what is happening. And frankly, you went amazingly well. So what happened when you opened your business, and how did you open it? What was the strategy? What was the plan?
Oh my gosh, it sounds far more organized than it actually was. So the last time we chatted, I was partway through the set up shop process and was going hammer and tongs with that. It was a month. I was doing some acting duties at work as well. Not sure I would do that combo again. It was a little bit intense, but I wanted to just pull the trigger on launching my shop. So I went hard with sharing my information and building my presence on Instagram. And in the end, I decided to go with an Etsy shop, just for ease and simplicity, because realistically, this is a side hustle to buy fixtures so I can make more dice, rather than me trying to turn this into world domination. So it was a slow build. I spent the month kind of madly undertaking all the classes, typing up the text, taking beautiful photos, and promoting. and then launched on a Saturday morning full of fear and, may I say, a whisper of terror.
So, okay, let's just quickly backtrack. When you say promoting, what was your plan? What were you doing to promote your business in the lead up to the launch?
Sure. So in February, we did the Pinterest challenge. Not Pinterest. Wow, I'm stuck in July. We did the Instagram challenge through Create and Thrive. So on the Thrivers Circle, everybody was getting in the groove just to see what would happen with Instagram stats, posting every day. And I actually found that worked crazy well, like really, really, really well. And I ended up getting really nice momentum and engagement. So I started setting up unintentionally over the month, created a particular aesthetic that I was developing in my feed, and I started getting really good engagement with folks. So I continued just posting every day in the lead up to my business, my business launch, I should say. A week before, I actually also cracked 500 followers, which was very exciting for me. So I did a little giveaway of a dice, which coincided with my launch, which I had acknowledged 2 days earlier. And I saw really amazing engagement with that as well. So it started to build up some hype. And I also included some sharing requirements in that. And people were very forthcoming and excited to do that. And so by the time my launch happened, it seemed there was a lot of really goodwill and people excited to see what was going to be in my shop.
Okay, well, that's really awesome. So when you say, so we did the Instagram challenge in the Thrive Circle, and so you were using your new Dreamforge Dice account for that, rather, because you have your old account as well, which is quite popular. So Dreamforge Dice, how did you kind of connect with the Dice community? Did you use specific hashtags? Did you actually like reshare other people's or comment on other people's? Like, what was the strategy there?
Sure. So with that one, I kind of a couple of things. I realised the other week when I got interviewed for ABC to talk about Instagram and sewing, I'm like, oh, I've been on Instagram for a solid 10 years now. So I've got a pretty good feel of how it goes to engage with the community. So I wanted to have a very clear aesthetic. I think it doesn't mean all your shots need to be the same, but when you look at somebody's feed, you know who it is. So I kind of, over the month, I tinkered with that. In addition, I'm just very social and I like engaging with people, and Instagram is a good time sink, especially when it's cold and I don't want to leave the house. So I spent a lot of time engaging with other people's posts who I thought are really amazing artists, and would reshare their work in my stories. It's quick and easy. It's also a lovely signal boost for people, especially if it's folks who may not have as many followers as you. And I'd always make sure I would tag them and also explain why I liked what they did. So I've noticed that some folks like to reshare or forward on people's images in their feeds, in their stories, but it'd just be like a repost of a dice. And that's, to me, isn't... I think what makes it special is when it's like, oh my God, I love, great work, Jeff. I love your use of colour in this or something. So it's a little bit more meaningful, and it also directs people back to that particular maker. So I ended up building lots of really good relationships through that. I'm also an avid hashtag user, so I tinkered around with lots of different hashtags, and in particular a great one was Aussie Dice Makers, because I started to find all these amazing artists I didn't know, but it also was really helpful because a lot of the people who have purchased my dice actually are from Australia and are looking for Aussie Dice Makers, so that was a really great way to get the word out and kind of start building the hype.
That's fantastic. I'm just so impressed by the job you did on Instagram, because that was pretty much your only marketing channel as far as I could see, sort of driving traffic for your launch and subsequent launch, because you've had 2 now. And so you just did an amazing job of building that hype beforehand. I think that's something some people try to do and find it difficult. Do you think there's something unique about the dice community being a little bit more supportive and less competitive, perhaps, than some other niches might be?
I think so. I find the dice community really supportive. And it's interesting because there's a lot of great Facebook groups that run that are for dice makers, and it's about sharing techniques and sharing knowledge. And it all comes down to, you can use a particular technique, you can try this thing, but in the end it'll always be your twist of whatever the technique is. And it's just really inclusive, and it's a lot of people lifting each other up. So it's just been really delightful. In saying that, I also think it's how you're willing to engage with communities, because I actually find the sewing communities really like that as well. And I don't know if that is, maybe it's the way I interact with people, I don't know, but it seems to be very positive and very inclusive and lifting each other up, which I really love.
Yeah, that's really, really nice, because you're sharing work that other people, technically your competitors, I guess, but still, you're all supporting each other and sort of learning from each other. And I think we could all take something away from that in the craft community. And if we could all do more of that, it would be really, really great. Do you find that are other dice makers your customers as well, or is it more players who have found you via these other dice makers or via some other hashtag that you have been using?
So there are a couple of dice makers that have bought from me, which was actually a stealthy surprise, because I know everybody, it's a bit like playing roller derby. I don't know your real name, but I know your handle. And so recently I was talking to somebody in Australia. We just kind of messaged back and forth about some technique or such. And then she's like, oh, and this, and I love this dice for you. And I'm like, I did not realize you had purchased from me. And then I got really anxious about it. Which is hilarious, because that was like 2 months ago. And it's like, if there was an issue, I'm sure she would have flagged it at this point. But I've got quite a few D&D players, but there's definitely a couple of dice makers as well who have purchased, which has just been absolutely wonderful and really heartening, because I'm still terrified that somebody's going to send a really salty message about something they bought from me. That terror has not gone away.
No, and it probably won't go away. I think we all have that. I mean, I've been selling my work since 2008, and it's still occasionally you'll get someone who's not happy for whatever reason, and you have to deal with it. Yep. I think it's almost better when you get the first one, because then okay, it's happened now. It's like the first bad review or whatever, It doesn't happen very often, and I'm sure for you it won't happen very often. All your reviews have been amazing that I've seen on your site. Okay, so that's kind of the marketing you did to lead up to it. Before we kind of talk about the success of your launch, which was amazing, I'll get you to tell the story. What were the big things you think that you did beforehand with the setup that made the biggest difference, or that worked really well?
Ooh. Okay, so there was I'm just going to be frank, I think we talked 2 weeks or something before I launched. So there was I'm a very anxious person. You know this, Bess. I'm just putting it out there. So there was just a foundational level of fear the whole time. Look, I could pretend otherwise, but we all know. So Setup Shop was really good for me, because it took me through every single step. The big things for me that I found were not a time sink, that's a wrong way of looking at it. There was a time investment, was definitely photography and editing. I thought I was all on it, and I was like, yeah, I know what people want and how to take good photos, and I took them all and I edited them, and because I'm lazy, I did it all on my phone with a macro lens. And then I went to load it up to Etsy, and I had cropped them all too much and then deleted the original files because I ran out of room, and then I had to retake all the files. And I was working really ridiculous hours, and my room gets the best light between 4 and 5:20, and I couldn't get home before 6:30, and I'm just like, what is happening? Anyway, so my launch was on Sunday morning. I had to redo nearly all of my photographs of 20 sets and pieces, which included every gosh darn dice, Saturday afternoon. I nearly cried. It was terrible. So bad. But so Setup Shop was really great, because it's these are the kind of things you want to look for. It was really helpful. I'm really proud of how my little Etsy shop looks. I like my little story. I like I think my product descriptions are pretty good. And with dice making, I want to be able to talk to people about, if you buy this dice, there might be a small mold mark on this face. Like, it's quite detailed. And I think my product descriptions were really good, and Setup Shop was really helpful for that. The only thing I wish I'd dived a little more into was the systems stuff, because I set up my systems pretty well, and there's a week that's like just digging into that. But at that point, I was just really tired, and I was like, I'll get to it, I promise. And then I didn't get to it till afterwards, and I was like, you made a mistake.
That's okay. We can't do everything perfect from the beginning.
Whew. Learning journey.
It's a learning curve, definitely a learning curve. Okay, so I remember also you were a bit worried about your pricing. How did that pan out in the end?
Okay, so I hemmed and hawed about pricing a lot, and it still causes me great distress. I was talking to one of the girls at work a couple of days before I launched, and I was like, oh, blah, 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 I'm putting it up, I'm doing a sale, da, 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 da. And then she just looked at me and was like, my friend, dice are a luxury item. You need to charge luxury prices for a luxury item. And I know this comes up in pricing all the time, but there was just something about the fact that I think in my head, I was always like, dice aren't a luxury item. Like a beautiful piece of ceramics, luxury item. Some lovely jewelry, luxury item. A piece of resin that you throw while drinking beers and eating chips with your friends, not luxury. But I don't know why, but that was kind of like, oh, you're right. And so I did go in and I pushed up all my prices $10, which is not a lot, but for me felt like a lot. And I still was terrified I was overcharging. And that was really stressful because I didn't think anything was going to sell, in all honesty. And for my second shop launch, I actually then pushed all my prices up again, another $10 across the board.
Awesome.
So, I'm slow and steady. I think I'm confident. I'm undervaluing my work, but I'm just, I'm moving it at a pace that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you kind of went for that slightly higher price the first time round. And I'm also extra glad to hear that you put up the second time round because you did so well the first time round. So take us on a journey. Tell us what happened on launch day.
It was quite the journey. Stayed up a little late, editing some photos and listings. And then, so I want you to imagine, it's Canberra. It's 9:00. I've drafted my launch Instagram post. I've got it all sitting there, my little fingers hovering. I've got all my Etsy listings up. I'm ready to click go. And then it clicked over to 9:00 and I was starting to freak out. And my husband's like, I'll be awake to cheer you on. He was asleep with my dog and cat. Fine, I'm doing this solo. And I clicked the little button. And then at the same time, it was hilarious. So I had my phone, I clicked the button, I clicked the story announcement in Instagram, and I'm like, go. And then I don't know what I expected to happen, but I was like, oh, I'll take a screenshot of my shop with 0 sales and and then when I get one, I'll take a screenshot. And I turned on the little Etsy thing to hear the cha-ching noise. And then 3 minutes and nothing happened. And I was like, oh. And then I jumped on Instagram and someone's like, hello, is there anything in your shop? Nothing's there. And I'm like, no, there's 20 items. There's things in there. And they're like, no, I can't see anything. And then I go back to Etsy and it's on the shop manager page, it's all loaded. It's all good. I'm like, cool. And then I'm like, I'll just have a look at the shop view and just look at all my pretty items. And I click on it and there's literally nothing in my shop. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And I'm just like, oh. And anyway, another person on Instagram's like, oh, hi, just wondering when you're launching things. I'm like, oh. Anyway, so then I'm madly Googling and I'm like, have I broken my Etsy shop? Anyway, they're like, oh, it'll just take a minute or two to load. Anyway, at this point, it's 6 minutes past. And then I realized if I typed pink, then I could see all the pink dice, but my shop was still empty. And at this point, I was freaking out and I'm like, back on Instagram, like, I'm just looking into it. I'm not sure what's happening. And I'm like, do not cry, do not cry. And then all of a sudden, within like 20 seconds, I had 3 sales come through. Like, boom, gone.
Oh, goodness.
And so I went to take like my little, I've made 1 sale screenshot. And then it just kind of went off like a frog in a sock. And then I'm not ashamed to admit it because I have big feelings. I'm not ashamed of them. I cried a bunch because I was like, I can't believe people are paying money for things that this chump made. Like, so the sale went bonkers. It was absolutely bonkers. I listed 23 items. It should have been 22. I accidentally duplicated a listing. That was a little bit stressful because they're all one of a kind. And accidentally sold a set of dice twice. But everything kind of...
Which was to my husband, I believe.
Yes, he got them the first time and then, oh my gosh, it was so bad. So I'd say I probably cleared 16 or 17 items in the first 45 minutes. It was just mind-blowing. And then I decided I wanted to go buy myself some breakfast cake because I was shaking at that point. And I was meeting my friend for breakfast and to have breakfast cake. So I went and got breakfast cake with her, and a few more sales came through while I'm eating said cake for breakfast. And I get out to my car and then I see this order and I'm like, hold on, I've sold that because I sold that to Nick. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? And then I realized I duplicated. Anyway, I got in touch with her. She's a gem. I offered her a few options and she's like, no, I'll happily wait while you make me another set. And I'm like, okay. But then the rest of my dice just steadily sold over that day, except for one set of dice that every time I got a sale, I started freaking out they had been sold. So I actually removed them from sale. They're so beautiful. My only regret is I let the really big one go. It had a matching chonky one. So in the end, I sold out of 23 sets and chonks, 22 within 12 hours. So
That's amazing. I was so happy for you when I saw, I just kept checking on your shop and seeing that they were selling and selling, and I was like, oh my God, she's doing amazing. This is fantastic. So I was so pleased for you when that happened. And basically, you had another launch just, I don't know, a week or 2 ago now, I think, and you sold almost all of those again.
yeah. So I had my sale. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I thought I was super smug because I had ordered my little cardboard boxes and I had little stickers made, and I'd made up all my little bags to put my dices in. And I had my little bags to put the shipping labels on. So I thought I was organised. Packing takes forever. Do not let anybody tell you it does not. I was up till 11:30 packing those gosh darn orders. I was like, this will only take 40 minutes. 3 hours. 3 hours. But it was great. I got them all out the door and then I just kind of went into hibernation. It was like, it's a teaching thing. I used to teach through the term and things would be super, super intense and I would be fine. My body would hold it together and the school holidays would happen and I'd crash and get a head cold every term without fail. This felt like this was run. Got my shop sale done. And then I was just like, oh, I got nothing in my tank. So I kind of took a little bit of a step back and I was doing the acting job at work. So I took a couple of months off hardcore dice making. And I was really worried because I had my second shop opening a fortnight ago and I had chilled off. I was still on Instagram sharing people's work and sharing my own work, but less regularly. And until maybe a fortnight before I reopened my shop, it was kind of only a couple of times a week. And then in that kind of fortnight leading up to it, I did a daily shop Instagram post and also changed the style of my photos for that to kind of just make it clear that was a different shop launch. It just kind of differentiated it for me. And I was really freaking out because I'm like, I've put my prices up another $10. I also added some training wheel sets, which were some of my early sets, which were priced lower. Had a few more flaws or quirks than my current set. So I was like, I don't know if anybody will want these. And I think I put up 35 items for sale. So I think it was about 16 sets and 16 chunks. Yeah, there were 35 altogether. And then I did another Sunday morning and I thought, I'll see how it goes. And I sold like 30 of them on the first day, which was boggling. And Etsy did me dirty again. This time it took 9 minutes for everything to load, and I had so many Instagram DMs. It was so stressful. It was so much worse than the first one, because even in the launch post, I'm like, Etsy will take a minute or two. And it was 9 minutes past 9 when they finally started showing up in the shop, and I was freaking out.
But you have all this like excitement from people, and then they're like, when's it happening? So they're like, really, you're basically accidentally training your audience that they really have to be on the ball and be there at the time, otherwise they're going to miss out. So that's kind of, it's scarcity. It's a marketing tactic inadvertently.
Sure. It's not at all like dodgy servers or anything. It was so bad because literally my DMs were like, because I had my sound turned on because I just wanted to hear the little cha-ching sound, because I'm a shallow person who likes a cha-ching sound. But instead it was like the Instagram thing, and I ended up having like typing out this message, and I was just cutting and pasting. It's like, thank you so much. Something's happening with Etsy. It's there. You can try searching by color. And then people are like, I really wanted this set and I've been on there since 5 to 9. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know. But I'd like to say, did not accidentally double list anything this time. So
well done.
And because I realized how much I hate packing, I was ahead of the game, and I had pre-made all my boxes. I had pre-made all my cards and tucked them in. I'd packed all my little like bits of shred and my cup, my little tea and my Biscoff biscuit, and had all the little packets out. Only took 2 hours for double the amount.
So you get faster every time. That's fantastic. Now, I want to make the point for those who are watching and listening to this, that one of the reasons this strategy that Amanda's using is so successful is because she pretty much has one-of-kind items. So every one of her dice sets or chunky dice is a one-of-a-kind. So people have to get in, and if they want that item, they have to be there, get it, make sure they're the one who buys it. So at this point in time, you're really working strongly into that launch strategy, one-of-a-kind marketing strategy, which can work amazingly well for people like you who do sell one-of-a-kind items, because you build up that anticipation beforehand. You share photos of all the products beforehand so people know what's coming, and they can basically fall in love with one of your pieces and sort of stalk your shop for when it opens, and then hopefully get the piece. So that particular strategy is always going to be more successful for those of you who do have one of a kind. If you're moving more into the reproducible, you don't have that urgency factor. So you might not find this, the launch sort of style Amanda's experiencing, you might not find that happens for you because people aren't pressured into, if I don't get it now, I miss out. Now, have you been thinking at all about going down the reproducible road at this point, or are you still just, I'm enjoying making this stuff, I'm just going to sell what I make and sort of see what happens?
Look, you know me, I have the attention span of a flea. So, we'll see where I sit next week. There are some particular styles that I really love that folks seem to love. So this is unpolished and uninked, but these kind of, like very extra, lots of sparkly, lots going on. They're the ones that were like the first sold in both launches I've done, which were phenomenal. And so actually they're labor intensive, but I really do enjoy making them. So I was thinking about trying to see if I can reproduce these at all. I wouldn't do it as a regular thing, but the style is fun to play with. But the idea of just doing standard reproducible items, This is fun for me. I enjoy tinkering, so it's not something I'm super keen on.
Yeah, because at this point you're not planning on making this a full-time business,
Oh,
like
Lord,
a
no.
full-time income. If you did want to do that, it might be wise to go down that path so that you can sell like those reproducible designs maybe at a slightly lower price point and have the one-of-a-kinds at a slightly higher price point. So you have that balance of, people love this style, then they can definitely buy it. So that might be something for those of you who are in that situation who do want to make more money out of it, or who aren't just doing it sort of as a side hustle for fun. That might be something you want to perhaps incorporate into your strategy of your business. Okay, so I wanted to know kind of what was the biggest lesson you've learnt during this process so far? Like, what's the sort of thing that has really struck you about this whole setting up and starting a business thing?
Oh, okay. Biggest things that I have learned. Okay, so firstly, something is going to go wrong, so just do the thing. Okay. Let's just be real. I'm a complete perfectionist. I like to tick every box. I like to make sure my font sizes are the same, everything's consistent. I am a complete nerd for that stuff. And for a long time, that was super holding me back from actually doing the thing and selling the product. And I thought I had everything locked down. I was feeling so smug. And then, of course, things went wrong. And in the end, it didn't matter. It just did not matter at all. You can work it out. So just do the thing, and just get it done. Because at the end, I think it's, for me, I've been fussing and doubting myself for so long. And I just had to back myself and get it done. So
Yeah.
that was my first thing. I'm going to be sneaky and do three. Okay, so number two, if you are just a hobbyist, if you're feeling a bit anxious, you don't know where to go, just drink the Etsy Kool-Aid and get in on it. I am not, I feel like I need to say this is not hashtag SponCon. It is just a simple lady trying to sell a few things for a few dollars to buy more dice supplies. But Etsy was just super easy to use and wonderful. And it just, even I could do it. And anything that I got stuck on, I could just Google really easily. And so many people use it. There was lots of help there. And the whole process actually was easy. I think that if I was doing this as something more than a side hustle, I would probably look at other options. But for me, it was perfect and it felt like a really supportive way to go. So get in on Etsy if you're not sure where to start. And finally, don't be a jerk. I could probably say that in a nicer way, but just be excellent. Things went wrong.
Be excellent to each other. Isn't that what Bill and Ted always used to say?
Right. I'm trying to remember. It's like wild stallions. But it is truly be excellent to each other. One of the things I found really lovely is in most of the feedback I've gotten from people, it's actually mentioned like just how lovely it has been, like communicating with me and the level of service, and that actually has meant a lot. There's been a huge bunch of things that went wrong, and every time I've just tried to approach it with, this was my fault, there's no excuse for it, here's some solutions, you let me know what's best because I want you to have a good experience. And I think if you approach things by not being a jerk, people will respond. And it's also those like little personal touches that it builds an ongoing relationship. And one of the coolest things for me was I didn't ever expect people to want to have more than one thing that I have made, but I actually had a number of repeat customers, and it made my year. Where people are like, oh, we love what you're doing and you're an excellent person and we want to support you. And I'm like, if you'll excuse me. Also an ugly cry gif. It's amazing. But it is truly lovely. So I think, yeah, do the thing. Etsy if you're stuck. Don't be a jerk. Rules to live by.
I like it. Yeah, and it's so true. Like one of the nicest things about a handmade business is that personal relationship with people. I love, having people come back again. Being repeat customers is really lovely. I also get a lot of people who are like, I've lost my wedding ring. I'd like to get another one from you because I loved it so much. That happens a lot more than you would expect. Usually guys, no shade, but usually because they're not used to wearing rings and they usually get a size too big. Anyway, yeah, so that's always really lovely when people are like, I really love what you made for me and I want another one or something similar. So that's a lovely experience to have for sure. Okay, so what's next for you? What's on the horizon? Are you gonna sort of just keep going the way you're going? Is there something new that you're gonna do or experiment with? I know you mentioned about maybe doing some different colorways with that sort of particular style you're developing.
So I'm going to keep it as a side hustle at a very much, as I said before, like at my own pace. So I will make things when I have time and they will be wonderful. However, I have really loved seeing people's doing almost like themes or collections. And I have my like super extra fun dice, which I love, and people are going bonkers for. But I do tend to make them in blue, green, purple. And
That's
the rest
colours.
of my dice are also pink. I thought it'd be really nice to try something like this and try different color combos to challenge myself. Makes it kind of reproducible, but also not reproducible. But still gives me a little bit of fun. So I'm really excited to give that a go. And I'm just going to, I think, keep doing what I'm doing. I thought about, there's a huge dice market on the TikToks where the youths are. And I thought about it. And in the end, I just don't have the time for that. Like I know this is not a tactical way to go about your marketing or whatnot, but I'm just going to stick to Instagram. I'm going to stick to Etsy at the moment. I am going to stick to making things and selling them when I've got enough. And I'm not going to put any artificial pressure on myself because at the moment, this is such a fabulous way to support my dice making and I want to hate it. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing in my groove.
You would be particularly good on TikTok, I have to say. You've got the right vibe for it.
I think you mean awkward.
Yeah, but it's entertaining. You are a drama teacher in a past life.
Theatre, Jess. Some of us are born for it.
Yes, I'm not that person.
He says, I've seen you at a murder mystery party, girl.
Good old sheep togas. Can't go past them.
Look, I'm just saying the accents are pretty flawless.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. I do believe you also have dice bags in the offing, perhaps, if you
Oh, yes. Okay.
something reproducible, maybe, possibly.
It feels like it could be an easy win because I do enjoy a little sew. And I have some lovely fabrics. So I think what I've really enjoyed about making dice is kind of, I saw myself as my ideal customer, which I know is not like the way one should go about it, but I truly think
Can
there are,
be.
look,
Doesn't
it's
have
worked
to
for
be.
me. I found my people, which is
Easier if that's the case, to be honest.
so much. I'm so self-involved. I don't want to put myself in others' shoes. Oh. But my kind of aesthetic is more, but not in a high fantasy way,
Yeah.
and still kind of minimal. It works. It's a vibe. Just trust me on it. So one thing I've noticed, there are some gorgeous, stunning dice bags out there and amazing designs, but the ones with like fabrics that I vibe with are few and far between. But then I went to Spoonflower. So yes, it's still nerdy, but it's like not high fantasy nerdy. And the colours are fun and a little pop arty. So I'm thinking about maybe making some dice bags because I have those mad skills. But we'll see, because I also have my I don't sew for other people rule. And I do not want to sell my sewing, Jessica. So we'll see. So I'm thinking about doing some dice bags because I already do like a little dice pouch that goes in with my packaging.
Yeah. But you don't have to sew clothes for other people.
Yeah, true.
Dice bags are interchangeable. It doesn't matter. Sizes, they're all the same. It's fine.
Yeah. We'll see. I've been on a weird sewing cutting out rampage the last fortnight and have cut out 13 garments to make. So we'll just see. There's a pile over in the corner. It's out of control. Amazing.
For those who also enjoy sewing, you can check out Amanda's amazing sewing blog and Instagram at Bimble and Pimple on Instagram at Bimble and Pimple.
Thank you.
Yes. So
I'm living in stories. I'm just hanging out in stories at the moment.
Okay,
I
cool.
don't know why. Sometimes I go through weird fixations. That's how I roll. But yes, so I'm thinking about maybe overlapping the dice making and the sewing, but we'll see, because this beautiful custom print fabric is not cheap. And I would want to. I'm just having a revelation live here on camera where I actually think I would feel more comfortable with like hardlining prices when it comes to sewing as opposed to dice. Whoa. I was just like, oh, I'd have to pay people would need to pay a decent amount. I know what my sewing time is worth.
That's it, because you got the experience. You've been doing it for so long. And you value your skill in that realm.
I'm completely having a moment here. This is wow. Okay, cool. Okay. Anyway, we didn't need to have that live. Here's what we're doing though. Got to sit quietly. This just got a little deep.
It's good. I mean, this is the thing I think a lot of newbies struggle with, is valuing themselves. Even people who've been doing it for a long time. I had this moment the other night. I'm in this business women's group. Then we meet up in person once a month, and this one lady came along, and I actually had seen her at a local market. She has another business, which is why she's in the business group, but she's just started making these like pet portraits out of like cardboard and stuff, right? Yeah, I talked to you about this. And she was selling them for like $15. And I just said, they should be like $50 to $100 minimum. And her face, like her mind exploded at that possibility that you would charge. She literally could not accept that she would charge that much for these things that she had created. And shouted, if you do happen to watch this video, you know who you are. But the other lady and I who were there were like just trying to convince her, yes, like this is worth so much more than you're charging for it, because it was a hobby thing to her. Like, you know, she knows how long it takes her to do it. She doesn't feel like it's particularly highly skilled, you know, and so she just doesn't value her work and her time. And then because Amanda had sent me a gift for my 40th, which was a beautiful collage artwork of my beloved dearly departed cat Gobelino. And so I was literally at the dining table at the restaurant, and I texted Amanda and I'm like, do you mind telling me how much you paid for that, so I can just show her how much the picture of it I had, and then show her how much. And she was absolutely floored. Like, it was a couple $100. She was floored that, that people could charge that. And I'm like, but you're making a custom portrait of somebody's pet. People love this stuff. Like, it's, you can charge more because it's a special custom item. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to make. It doesn't matter how much materials, like the materials cost. Like, she had that in her head, like the materials only cost this much. It takes me this much time to make. I can only literally charge that much money, like, to just cover my costs. So this is a big problem a lot of beginner makers and crafters have. And I feel like I spent half my life trying to convince people, no, that you're worth more than that. So it was really nice to see you have that realization, because you know that you're worth more.
It just, yeah, it's weird because I think this has been posed to me so many times sewing over the years. If I had a dollary due for every time somebody's like, can you sew this for me? Do you take commissions? Would you make this custom? Lovely. It's flattering, but it's also just in my head, I'm like, I earn X amount of dollars doing my public service job, which is very intense. If I were to charge my hourly rate to make you something, yet for some reason making these shiny click-clacks, I'm having trouble. We're just working through some things here, Jess. We're just going with it. But it's like I almost feel fraudulent. Like, I don't feel like a fraud in the sewing world anymore. I know where my skill set is. I'm intermediate. I'm cool with that. But I still feel like a complete numpty here. Yet I've been doing this for several years.
Yeah. So it's that imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Which so many people struggle with. So, yeah, it's a huge issue, especially in the craft community, because, frankly, we're dominated by women, and women tend to undervalue ourselves. We've been, by society sort of trained into undervaluing ourselves. So we don't want to do that, because we're worth it, as that old commercial says.
I was just thinking, isn't that like an ad? I'm like, because
I know, it's terrible. Like, you just can't unhear it now. You're like, because I'm worth it. But yeah, anyway.
I need to have my hair down to like flick. Although I'll just flick my earrings.
We are. Awesome. Thank you, Amanda, for coming on and sharing your journey with us. It's been awesome to catch up. And if you would like to hear more, if you'd like Amanda to come back in the future and share with us again, let me know. If you're watching the video, let me know in the comments. I can't remember if I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Let me know in the comments. If you're listening on the podcast, shoot me a DM or something on Instagram at Create and Thrive. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Amanda, it's been awesome. I'm so proud of you and what you've achieved. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Bess. It is so lovely to come chat with you. And also, thanks everybody for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that one. I had so much fun interviewing Amanda. We've obviously been friends for a really long time, so it was super fun to catch up on her journey. If you'd like to see more videos like this, if you'd like me to interview more makers, then let me know. Shoot me a comment below and let me know. Of course, I do interviews on my podcast each month if you're not already a listener over there. It's called the Create and Thrive podcast. You can find it on all podcast platforms, and I usually do one interview a month over there, and there's a backlog of like 7 years or something of podcast episodes over there. So if you do enjoy interviews with makers, make sure to go check out my podcast. Again, I'll put a link in the description below so you can easily go and check it out. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back again soon with another video. Bye for now.